Croeso pawb. Diolch am ddod heddiw. Mwyn dathlu diwrnod hawliau gofalwyr, rydym wedi gweithio'n gyda'n partneriaid i gyflwyno rhaglen lawn o sesiynau ar-lein am bynciau allweddol sy'n gysylltiedig ar diwrnod hawliau gofalwyr. Bydd y sesiynau hyn yn cael eu cynnal rhwng mis Hydref a diwedd mis Mawrth 2021. Cewch fwy o wybodaeth am hynny ar y diwedd. Hon yw'r trydydd o'n sesiynau gyda Cyngor a'r Bopeth Ceredigion. Welcome everybody, thank you for coming. In order to celebrate Carers' Rights Day 2020, we've worked with our partners to bring you an entire programme of online sessions on key topics linked to Carers' Rights Day. These sessions run from October this year right through until the end of March 2021. More information on that at the end of this recording. This is the third of our Carers' Rights Day sessions with Ceredigion Citizens Advice Bureau. Rwyf yn awr felly am eich trosglwyddo chi I Glynis. So I will now hand over to Glynis. Diolch.
Diolch, Catherine. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining me today. Before going any further, I'll try and share my screen. The idea is that I've got some slides that I can talk through, and hopefully you'll be able to see. So I'll just try and get those slides up now. And there, okay. Can everybody see that? If you could nod, and then that's fine. That's lovely. Thank you. Right, okay. What I'd like to talk to you about today is benefits for carers and for people who they care for. As you may know, if you've ever tried to claim benefits, it can be fairly complicated and difficult to understand and to find your way through the system. I won't be able to go through everything today, but I'm perfectly happy to take questions at the end, or if you want to discuss anything that's personal to you, you can contact me on details that I'll give you at the end. Okay. Right. My name is Glynis Llewelyn. I am the Operations Manager at Ceredigion Citizens Advice. I was previously a benefits advisor and have done lots of benefits appeals and things like that for, approaching 40 years now. So it's quite a long time really to be involved in the business. And I often think that I know more about benefits as they were 30 years ago than they are at the moment, because they've changed that much. But hopefully we'll be able to go through things as they are now, and we'll be able to answer your questions. Right. So what I'd like to talk to you about is what benefits are available for people who may have health issues and for people who care for them, what the different benefits represent, and how they interact with one another. And I'll also discuss a bit about direct payments, which comes from the local authority rather than the DWP, but we can touch on those as well. Okay. Before going any further, those people who have access to the internet, then I will be arranging for these slides to be sent out to you if you want to have them. Because on these slides, there are links to information sites where you can get more information about what I'm talking to you about. And these links will also be available on the recording afterwards. We'll put them on separately because the full addresses aren't on the slides, but we can provide those to anybody who's watching afterwards. Okay. So don't worry too much about the information or having to take notes or anything like that, because all of these will be available to you afterwards. Anybody who's joining us on the phone, we will try and find a way of getting the information out to you, because obviously you might not have access to the internet, so we can post it out or we can do something. Okay. So what benefits are there? Now, there are a group of benefits that are there for people who are unable to work. Basically, they're like if you insure your house, and if there's a fire, you can claim on your insurance. These benefits work in exactly the same way. You pay your national insurance, and if you're not able to work for any reason, you can claim on this insurance to obtain the benefits. The most obvious benefit, or the benefit that everybody's heard of, is retirement pension. Well, that's based on exactly the same principle. You pay your national insurance while you're at work, and then when you stop work because you're retired, you can claim your state retirement pension. For people who are unable to work because of illness, if they have been working and paying their national insurance, they can claim a benefit called employment and support allowance. So that is like a retirement pension, you pay in your insurance, you can get your benefit. A similar sort of benefit is carers allowance, but this is available for anybody regardless of whether or not they've paid national insurance. But it's the same sort of thing. It's a benefit that's there if you can't work. So it's not means tested. So it doesn't matter if you've got any capital or if you've got a partner who's working. It's there for you, a benefit to replace your earnings because you're unable to work. Okay, so those are the two benefits that people are able to claim if they're too ill to work or if they've got carers responsibilities, which means that they can't work because of that. In addition to those, there are benefits which are for people who have particular expenses. Now, the benefits in this group would be personal independence payment for people who are of working age. There's attendance allowance for people who claim once they're over retirement age. And then there's disability living allowance for claimants who are under 16 or for children. They've got different names, but they all serve the same purpose. They're all there because somebody has a disability, and that disability affects their ability to care for themselves or their ability to walk. They're not means tested. They can be claimed on top of any other benefit. So it's specifically there for people who might have more expenses to do with their disability. And I'll talk about those in a bit more in a minute. And then the last group of benefits are the top-up benefits. So, for example, there's universal credit for people who are of working age. There's pension credit for people who are of retirement age. These are means tested. Unlike the others that I talked about, these benefits are means tested. And they're just to try and ensure that people have a minimum income that the government says that people need to live on. Okay, so I'll just go on to talk about these benefits in a bit more detail. Employment and support allowance, as I say, that's based on national insurance payments. There's a medical assessment attached to it. So initially you get a fit note from your GP, and then you'd be examined by a health professional employed by the DWP to assess whether or not you have limits on the work that you can do. So either as a result of that medical assessment, there's a decision which says either you're fit for work or you're not fit for work at the moment, but you may be in the future, or you're not fit for work at the moment and there's no really prospect of you becoming fit for work in the future. Whether or not you're fit for work is depending on various what they call descriptors, and so they assess how well you can do things like walking or standing, and depending on how well you can do different activities, then they'll award the benefit. If you're not happy with whatever decision is made, it's important that you can challenge that decision, and organisations like ours can help you through any kind of challenge process that you might have to go through. Okay. Personal independence payment for working age people. It's very similar to employment and support allowance in that there are particular descriptors that they look at to see how well you can do things. So they'd be looking at how well you can prepare food, how well you can dress yourself, whether you can bathe, whether you can walk very far. And again, it's based on a medical assessment by somebody, a medical professional from the DWP. And again, if you're unhappy with whatever decision is made, then you can challenge that decision, and we'd be more than happy to help you with that process. Disability living allowance, unlike personal independence payment, it doesn't have particular descriptors, but they just look at the amount of attention or supervision a child might need. And if the child needs significant attention or frequent attention throughout the day, or more attention than another child of a similar age, then they might be able to claim that benefit. Okay. And then attendance allowance for people of retirement age, which is very, very similar to the rules regarding disability living allowance. And they look at the amount of attention or supervision somebody might need from someone else. Whether or not somebody actually receives the attention or supervision, it doesn't matter. People can be living by themselves and still require continual supervision because, for example, they might be at risk of falling. They're at risk of falling whether or not somebody is actually living with them. So the actual circumstances in which you find yourself doesn't matter. It's just whether you require attention or supervision. And then carers allowance can be paid to somebody who cares for somebody who is in receipt of one of these benefits, the personal independence payments, attendance allowance, or disability living allowance. So those benefits have got to be received by the person that they care for before they can claim carers allowance. As I mentioned before, it is a benefit to replace earnings, although people can work to some extent and still get carers allowance. Now, regarding the means tested benefits, which is probably, I think, what most people think of when they think of benefits. They think of means tested benefits. Now, there used to be quite a wide range of means tested benefits, and I've got them all listed here, which are employment support allowance, income support, job seekers allowance, housing benefit, child tax credit, working tax credit. All of those were there to top up income or to give people a minimum amount to live on. Some of you may already be receiving these benefits. Generally, it's not possible to claim these benefits anymore. It is in certain circumstances, if you're very disabled, but I'll mention that in a minute. But mostly these benefits are now in the past, which is why we call them legacy benefits. They've been replaced by universal credit. All of those benefits have been replaced by universal credit. And whether or not somebody is better or worse on universal credit does depend on their circumstances. I wish I could sit here and say that, yes, universal credit is better, or no, legacy benefits are better, so people would know if they are still in receipt of legacy benefits whether to change or not. But unfortunately, there's all sorts of things that can, it depends on your circumstance whether or not you'd be better off on each benefit. And all I can suggest you do is to come and see us about it. But I'll just go through some of the things that might affect whether or not you might be better off on universal credit or better off staying on the legacy benefits that you may receive at the moment. So all of the top-up benefits, the legacy benefits that I talked about, and the universal credit can give additional amounts of money for people in certain circumstances. So if somebody receives employment and support allowance, and they're in that group of people where it's thought, well, they can't work now, and there's no prospect of them being able to work in the future, they're put in what's called a support group. And people who are put in the support group can have an additional amount of money called the support component in their legacy benefits, and they can have an additional amount of money called the enhanced disability premium in their legacy benefits. With universal credit, they get what's called, now take a deep breath and I'll say it, limited capability for work-related activity element. Now, I didn't come up with these names, but that's the name it's been given, that's the name it's known by. But that's the amount of money that they give under universal credit. Now, that's not the same amount of money as the support component or the enhanced disability premium or the support component enhanced disability premium put together. It's a different amount of money, and it's a different amount of money depending on whether you're single or whether you're a couple. Some people will be better off on universal credit. Some people will be better off staying on the legacy benefits, depending on how the benefit is worked out. Okay. If you receive carers allowance, you can have what's called a carers premium included in the employment and support allowance, income support and job seekers allowance and your legacy benefits, and you can get the carers element in your universal credit. And both of those are roughly the same. So there's no real difference between the extra money you can get in each benefit. If you receive the personal independence payment and you live by yourself and no one receives carers allowance for you, under legacy benefits, you are able to get what's called the severe disability premium. Now that's quite a lot of money. It's about £65 a week, and it's not available under universal credit. And so generally people who receive the severe disability premium are not going to be better off under universal credit. And at the moment, up until January, it's not possible for them to claim universal credit because they would be worse off. So at the moment, that group of people can still claim what we term the legacy benefits, but that will stop in January. And from January, then any new claims will have to be for universal credit. And unfortunately, as things stand, people will be worse off than they would have been under legacy benefits. So it's important for you to try and claim whatever the benefits that you can claim now, rather than waiting until next year. And I say, I don't want to discuss anybody's particular circumstances, but please contact us if you want to discuss that further and your individual circumstance, and I'd be more than happy to do so. And I will give contact details at the end of these slides, and anybody who's phoning in, we will send out the contact details to you, so you know who to contact to discuss your circumstance. So as I say, it's difficult to know which benefit to go on, because there's some people have more money when claiming universal credit, some people have less. Sometimes it's better for people not to claim carers allowance for somebody they're looking after because of the effect it has on the severe disability premium. It can seem quite complicated, and all I can suggest is that you actually go to somebody to discuss your circumstances and to seek advice as to whether or not what would be best for you in your circumstance. Okay. Sometimes it's better to claim carers allowance and not receive it. It's possible to do that if, for instance, you're retired and you already receive your retirement pension. You can't receive carers allowance as well, but you can be entitled to it. And if you're entitled to it, you can get the carers premium, and that means you can get more things. You can get an additional amount of, say, council tax reduction, or you can get an additional amount of the legacy benefits or the universal credit. So it's quite a minefield as to what is the best thing to do for each person. All I can put up is the possibilities, and encourage you to contact us to discuss your particular circumstance if you think you might be affected by anything that I've discussed today. Okay. And lastly, just moving on from benefits a bit, just to draw your attention to direct payments, which are payments that can be made to you, so you can do activities or pay somebody for doing things for you rather than getting a service from the local authority. And there is a link to that in these slides, and for anybody who's on the phone, we can send you some more information about that if you're interested in finding out more about direct payments. Okay, there's a lot of information on that slide, on the link that's on the slide. So I mentioned contact details. I've put all the contact details in these slides. Those of you who will be able to click on the links or get these slides will have that information there. People who are with us on the phone, I can give you the telephone number, which is 01239 621 974. And yeah, we'll send all that information for you. There's our website there, a link to our website, and then a link to our information system, which has a lot of information on the benefits that I've just talked about and a lot of information about anything else that you might want to know about as well. Okay, diolch yn fawr, thank you. I realise I've gone through things pretty quickly and covered a lot of topics. It's quite a complicated area, but all I wanted to do was just to flag up the possibilities that are out there. So, and encourage you to either ask me questions at the end of this or to contact Citizens Advice, and we can give you more advice on your particular circumstance if you want to explore it more. Okay, thank you. I'll just, I'll stop sharing the screen now, and I'll invite Catherine to come back in. Thank you.
Diolch, Glynis. Wow, llawer iawn o gwybodaeth yna I meddwl amdano. Thank you very much to Glynis for speaking today. Wow, what a lot of information to take in and to consider.
Yes.
Diolch. Mae'r manylion y sesiwn o'r sesiynau eraill y diwrnod hawliau gofalwyr ar gael ar dudalen Facebook a gwefan Cyngor Sir Ceredigion. Felly bydd gwybodaeth am yr union dudalen ar wefan y Cyngor ynghyd â manylion Cyswllt Uned Gofalwyr Ceredigion i'w gweld yn y golofn sylwadau a fydd yn cyd-fynd â'r recordiad hwn ar-lein. So details of the other Carers' Rights Day sessions are available on Ceredigion County Council's Facebook page and the Council's website. I will note the exact page on the Council's website and the contact details for the Ceredigion Carers Unit in the comments that will accompany this recording when it goes online. Diolch yn fawr.